So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on online scams, security, and privacy. We are hosting a series of webinars this month in recognition of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we've been doing that in collaboration with the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse. Before we begin, I'd like to give our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we gather on the traditional territory of a number of First Nations and acknowledge their stewardship of this land throughout the ages. We seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land, one that is based in honor and deep respect. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin the session today. All attendees will be muted, and the speakers will be present for speaking during the presentation today and available at the end to do question and answers. If you have questions along the way, you can post those in the Q&A box. We're pleased to have our ASL interpreters again joining us. You can make the visuals bigger on your end by either pulling across the visual of the speakers in the PowerPoint, or we have pinned them so you'll be able to see them, and you can also control that on your end as well, how you want the display. If you wanted just the speaker or the visual of the ASL, you have those controls at the top of your screen as well. As we mentioned, we have our chat box. We always encourage people to make comments, or if you want to introduce yourselves. We always like to see who's joining us. As I mentioned throughout the presentation, if a question arises, please post that in the question box. It's easy for us to find your questions at the end of the presentation if you put it there, because during the presentation, many people will put comments in the chat box, and we just don't want to miss your question if you accidentally put it in that department. As you know, we are recording today's session, and it will be available on our website in the next couple of days for people to view. Please note that the PowerPoint presentation that is being presented today will not be shared, but there is a toolkit that the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre has developed that will be posted for people to download and be available for you after the session. Also, we do encourage you to complete an evaluation. We have modified the evaluation to make it a little bit shorter for our participants. So we encourage you to just to complete that. It should only take maybe a minute just to give us your feedback and maybe topics for other sessions in the future. And also, we do respect your privacy and confidentiality. We do understand that some situations may arise that might be personal. This is a public forum, so we encourage you, if you have a specific question or incident that you'd like to speak to us about, you can reach out to us individually by email or phone. Our contact information will be available at the end of the presentation. So for those who are joining us for the first webinar, if you haven't had the opportunity to join our webinars in the past, just a little bit about who we are. Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario is a nonprofit organization, and our mission really is to ensure that all seniors are free from abuse and have a strong voice, feel safe and respected. And we do a lot of work in the communities, not only within our province, but across jurisdictions across Canada and beyond boundaries of, internationally. We raise awareness, we do a lot of education and training, and we work with many different organizations serving the needs of older adults. We do implement Ontario's strategy to combat elder abuse and have been doing so since 2003. And we are funded through the Ontario government under the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility. I do want to mention today that any of the views or opinions expressed today are not of those of the Ontario government. They are of those of the speaker and that are presenting today on the content. So just the highlights of our strategy. We have three main pillars: education and awareness, training for frontline staff, and that coordination of services. You can find more information about the pillars and all the activities that we do by visiting our website for further information and resources. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Benedict Chiffon from the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, to introduce herself from the network. We always enjoy working with CNPA on a number of initiatives. So Benedict.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rayanne. So as Rayanne mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of CNPEA, which is the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse. We are a pan-Canadian organization with a mission of education and awareness raising, as well as a work towards better policies and practices when it relates to ageism and prevention of mistreatment, or otherwise known as elder abuse. I'm very happy to be here today for this presentation. This is a topic that is very important and that keeps evolving. So we're very, very excited to have Stephanie to tell us about the latest and the newest in the domain of scams. I'll be manning / womaning the chat box today while Stephanie is speaking. So if you have comments, resources you want to share, anything like that, please use the chat option and I'll make sure to respond or kind of echo what you're saying. If you're looking to type a question to be asked at the end of the presentation, you can click on the Q&A button that is at the bottom of your screen, the black bar at the bottom of your screen towards the left. This is where you can type your questions and I'll be monitoring those and asking them at the end. So we hope you enjoy this presentation and we'll talk again at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Benedict. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Stephanie Senecal, and she is with she's the Senior Support Unit Coordinator for the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. I just recently met Stephanie, I think this past year, so it's great to have the opportunity to work with her again. She spent most of her profession working with the Community Care Access Centre, which now in Ontario is known as the LHIN, or Home and Community Care. They change their names often. And she's always enjoyed working with seniors and those who are vulnerable. But as time passed, she felt the need, realized that there was something that was a necessity. So she started working with the Ministry of the Solicitor General at the Freedom of Information Office starting in 2017. She then missed working with the vulnerable population and applied to be the call taker at the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Being able to help has been very rewarding for her, and is very grateful for the work that she's been doing. This past April, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre requested she be the Senior Support Unit Coordinator, and she was the right fit for the position. I've seen her present in the past, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy her presentation. She's got a lot of information to share on online frauds and scams, a lot of statistics that might be very shocking to all of us and make us aware about how important it is to protect our safety and privacy, especially with the changes of technology and all the frauds and scams that are happening out there. So I'm going to stop my screen share and I'll let Stephanie take over. Oops.
Stephanie, you have to unmute yourself first.
There you go. Oh, you just did it and then you have to unmute again. You clicked it and then unclicked it again. There you go.
Hi, sorry about that.
Perfect.
Okay, so just to let you know that I'll hide my face for a little bit because my notes are on the other screen. So just so you know that I'm still here. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud, we are based out of North Bay, Ontario, and we are jointly managed by the OPP, the RCMP, and the Competition Bureau of Canada. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud, for short, CAFC, it's a central repository for fraud information for citizens and businesses in Canada. So citizens can report the fraud whether they have been a victim or not. They can report anonymously or on behalf of somebody else. And there's two ways to report this fraud. So it's either on our toll-free line, which is 1-888-495-8501. And you can also report the fraud on our website. So here at the Canadian Anti-Fraud, we don't conduct any investigations, but we support law enforcement to identify connections all over the world. So we're in partnership with the private and the public sectors, and we disrupt crime, strengthen the partnership, and we maintain Canada's economy. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud has 3 different units, the Fraud Prevention and Intake Unit. So this unit handles all the incoming reports of fraud, either by telephone or on our website. They'll input the information into our database, and they'll also provide education and support to the victims and non-victims during the call. So this unit also validates all the online reports. These reports can also be referred to our other units when they meet specific conditions. So either that a victim, senior victim needs follow-up, there's police visit recommendation, there's a large loss of money, there's cash in the mail, or for any new twist. As we know, frauds change all the time. Every single day we see new frauds appearing. And these, the Fraud Prevention and Intake Unit also deals with the media, and they do presentations to the rest of the population. So we have the Operational Support Unit. So this is the intelligence unit. They're made up of analysts and intel researchers and profilers, and they're the ones who work really close with law enforcement, regulatory bodies in Canada and the United States, financial institutions, internet service providers, telephone providers, all of our private and public partners. And the Operational Support Unit also educates law enforcement and our private sector partners. They provide statistics and investigative packages. They do outreach internationally with agencies like Europol, Interpol, and they service close to 100 different agencies. So they have a lot of connections. In 2021, the Operational Support Unit, they were able to disrupt close to 2,000 telephone numbers, over 10,000 emails, about 4,200 merchant accounts, and close to 20,000 bank accounts. And then lastly, the Senior Support Unit. So this is the unit that I take care of. So, so seniors are targeted for many different reasons. So either that they're lonely, they have lack of family support, age vulnerability, health-related reasons such as Alzheimer's, and more. Seniors are the more vulnerable population to fraud because their generation tends to be more trusting and less likely to end conversations. So fraudsters will build relationships with seniors and gain their trust before victimizing them. The Senior Support Unit was launched in 1997, and the Senior Support Unit coordinator just recently retired after 18 years of being in this position. And I have to say, she was an amazing coordinator. So when we get referrals from either law enforcement or from our call takers here at the Canadian Anti-Fraud, our volunteers will do callbacks to the victims and help them go through their victimization. So they provide strength, they educate them, they re-educate them, they help them regain their personal dignity, they share personal experiences, and ensure that they know that they have a place to turn to when they need. So the senior support unit is compiled of volunteers, most of them being seniors. So seniors to seniors is something that's very, seniors talking to seniors is something that's very original to the Canadian anti-fraud and has shown to be very effective. I don't remember when, but the unit was actually honored to receive an RCMP Commissioner's Volunteer Award for the dedication of service and support that they provided to the victims. So from 2020 to 2022, the reported fraud losses has increased tremendously. 74% of the reports with losses are from cyber facilitated crime. So in 2020, we received close to 500,000 calls, close to 3,200 online reports with a total loss of $164 million. So as of December 31st, 2021, the Canadian anti-fraud states that there is approximately $380 million in losses. And just this year, as of September 8th, we have a reported loss of $362 million. So you can see how it's increasing every single year. So we always say that fraud is underreported. So it's estimated that less than 5% of fraud is reported to the Canadian anti-fraud. And McMaster University did a study and they said that it's actually closer to 1%. So if we go back to the previous slide and you see, you know, $379 million in reported losses in 2021 times 99, that's crazy. It's unbelievable. So people don't report the fraud for many, many different reasons. So either they feel ashamed or embarrassed. They have the perception that no one will believe them. They have a fear that family will take control over their finances and they'll lose their independence. Sometimes they don't even know that they've been a victim of fraud. They can blame themselves for the loss, and they won't report the incident unless there's guaranteed restitution. So the top solicitation methods. So today we're just concentrating on the cyber portion of it. So email, it's 19%, internet, 14%, social media, 13%, text message, 10%, with a total of 56% of the frauds are cyber related. So as I said, they can be initiated online, email, text message, social networks, and more. But these are the ones we will concentrate on today. So fraud initiated online. So the internet is the perfect workplace for fraudsters as it spans the globe. So when someone is looking to find answers quickly, they use the search engine. The search engine is like Google. So fraudsters will often pay for their information or website to be listed among the top results. It could be through a pop-up, and these are used to grab your attention and can be very annoying. It could be a pop-over that appears on top of your current page. It could be a pop-up that will redirect you to a new window, or a pop-under will open when you X out of the page that you're currently on. There's three ways that these can be triggered. It's either time-driven, a timer is set, and once the timer is elapsed, the pop-up will appear. It could be behavior-driven, and so after any specific conditions have been met, the pop-up will appear. Or it could be when you X out of the window, we call these ones exit pop-ups. So be very cautious of any pop-ups. Most of them are, or not most of them, some of them may be fraudulent, but personally, I never click on any of those pop-ups. It could be online classifieds. So that's when someone advertises a product or a service, such as like a rental, like house rental, animals for sale, cars for sale at discounted prices, or even jobs. So fraudsters can also contact someone that is selling a product and offer an overpayment, and they'll send a delivery service to your home to pick up the product. But in the end, you pay the delivery service, and the person never comes and picks up the item. So fraudsters can create fake websites for various frauds. So while creating these fake websites, they may purchase like the HTTPS, which HTTPS is usually like a secured website, but fraudsters are starting to purchase these as well. They may also purchase domains that are very close to legitimate brands. So an example of that could be, trying to think, anything actually, but let's just say a Canada Post. So you think you're on the Canada Post website, but really there's a spelling error in Canada Post. Or it could be Nike or even Dyson. Those are popular ones. So these fraudsters will create these websites using stolen logos, stolen information, photos of people, and photos of merchandise as well. And last but least, stolen credit cards. So fraudsters will also place orders online using stolen credit cards. And then to the next, fraud initiated by social media, social networks. So fraudsters will create fake accounts. Here as well, they can steal names of people, they can steal photos of people, they can even steal comments of people or posts of people and create fake accounts to fraud people. Then we have social media bots. So it's the use of a fake account to automatically generate a messaging. So and fake reviews. So one that's very popular right now is that the famous people will convince you of something. So cryptocurrency, investing in cryptocurrency is very popular right now, and others. And then we have a compromised account. So that's when your account has been stolen. They've gained access to your account and all the information associated to it, including the pictures, which can later be used for blackmail. So the fraudsters can send messages to victims, contact lists, to fraud them in various ways. They could say they found their name on a winner's list for a prize, or they can ask for money urgently due to an emergency. They can say that they've received a grant and you are probably eligible for it too. Or it could be to convince you to invest in, most often, cryptocurrency. And fraudsters can also post ads for free trials, so discounted merchandise or fake job opportunities. They may also use the names of well-known individuals such as Elon Musk to convince you. And then we have fraud initiated by email or text message. So spoofing is something that fraudsters can use either on a telephone to hide the actual number that they're calling from, or they could do the same with email addresses. So they use these tactics to make you believe that they are somebody else, which happens often where they'll make you believe that it's Canada Post or Amazon or law enforcement, a lawyer. So just be very cautious of when you receive an email from somebody. You can always take your mouse and hover over the name where it says from, and you'll see the name of the company. If you hover over that, if it doesn't look, if it's not a domain from a specific company, then it's probably fraud. So just recently, I received an email from Shoppers Drug Mart, and I took my mouse and I hovered over it, and it was like brad672@gmail.com. Well, I know that Shoppers Drug Mart will not use a Gmail address. And then, so automation. So automation or scheduled emails and text messages were created to help businesses save time to send messages to a complete contact list. But fraudsters can also use this. They can choose who the message goes to, when to send it, and even personalize them. Fraudsters can also set up autoresponders to send delayed messages for when people reply. And then we have email compromise. So that is when a fraudster gains access to your email account. They usually try to impersonate the victim, either a person or a business. And the fraudsters may send an email to the entire contact list asking for money urgently due to an emergency. One that we're seeing often is that they're saying, you know, they're in the hospital, they're sick, they need money either to pay for their hospital bills, they need money to send a gift to their grandchild, they need money and they can't talk. So it only happens via email. And the reason they can't talk is because they have throat cancer or lung cancer, or they don't have good service in the hospital. Those are ones that we're seeing often. And with businesses accounts, the fraudsters may set up an email forwarding rule to receive a copy of all the incoming emails to their own email account. Fraudsters usually ask the receiver to pay an outstanding invoice and have their bank account changed. They may also send an email to an employee asking them to purchase gift cards for various reasons. And these gift cards will be provided to the fraudsters. So cyber frauds affecting seniors. So there's a lot of them. We're going to concentrate on investments, romance, prize, phishing, smishing, emergency, service, merchandise, and ID theft. So we will start with investments. So any false, deceptive, misleading, or fraudulent investment opportunity, often offering higher than normal returns. The victims often lose most or all of their money to investment scams. So we ask to verify if a company is registered with your Provincial Securities Commission before you start investing. So with investments, there's pyramid schemes. It could be like a gifting circle, or where one person will buy a gift and then in return will get more gifts. Or it could be, well, ultimately the first person must recruit other people, and then the next people must recruit other people, and the next people must recruit other people, and the person at the top is making the most money. And with cryptocurrency, it usually starts by seeing an advertisement. Usually the victim would download a platform, a trading platform, and then you would transfer the money there and then into a cryptocurrency account that belongs to the fraudster. These fraudsters can also create websites to make it look like you're making a lot of money, but in the end, this is also a fake website. Once you ask to withdraw your money, this is where the problems arise, because they will advise you that there's other fees to pay to get your money back. So it could be taxes, or to pay the investor, or it could be for various reasons. But even if you pay that amount, you never get your money back. And then romance scams. So fraudsters will use any type of social media or dating sites to connect with their victims. The accounts are created using stolen photos and information. So the background stories often mimic the victims. So if you like to take walks with your dog, they also like to walk their dog. If you're into flowers, they're also into flowers. If you like hunting, they also like hunting. They make the story seem like you are perfect for each other. They always claim to be working abroad, usually in the military, and they claim to be very successful people. They'll quickly profess their love to gain your trust and affection, and unfortunately, money. So these relationships can last months or even years, but usually ends when the victim has no more money to give. The fraudsters will always run into trouble and are unable to refund their victim, and they'll continue to make empty promises. The money is usually needed for medical bills, flights. They need to pay a fee on a large sum of money they will receive, or it could be to invest so they can have a worry-free future. So just an example of this week, I spoke to a senior victim that has started talking to somebody that was met on social media. They were in love. She was widowed. She was vulnerable. And he said that he got in a car accident and they stole his wallet, all his IDs. He has no more money. He's stuck in the hospital, can't pay his bills. And with that, he's actually suing the other vehicle, and he's going to get a large sum of money, but there are lawyer fees to pay prior to him receiving that money. But because he has no ID, he can't access his bank account, the victim ended up sending $20,000 to start the process for him to collect his money. She doesn't believe me that she's part of a scam. She's going to send more money. So again, the senior support unit, we will keep making contact with this person to make sure that she does not send any more money. And it's hard for them to understand because they're in love. Love is strong. And then we'll skip to the prize scam. So prize scams are when someone contacts you by mail, email, telephone, social media. It could be a website pop-up advertising that you're a winner of a large lottery or a sweepstake. But before receiving these winnings, there's always advance fees. So these fees could be paid by Bitcoin, gift card, MoneyGram, Western Union, a wire transfer. And these fees are usually for legal fees, taxes, delivery costs. Sometimes Canada Border Services held the package and you need to pay fees for that. And one that I've heard, and I laughed a little bit, is this lady had to pay $300 because they misspelled her name on the big check. So be very cautious of winnings because in Canada, you are not to pay any advance fees before receiving a winning. The two most popular prize scams that are happening today and with seniors, they claim to be Reader's Digest and Publishers Clearinghouse. I even spoke to a gentleman this week, and he was part of an investment scam where he lost approximately $50,000. And here at the Canadian Anti-Fraud, we say, if you've been a victim once, chances are you will get re-victimized. So this gentleman told me he received an email from Tim Hortons for a 50-50 draw. And he said, maybe I'll win. 2 weeks later, he won $56,000, but there were advance fees. So I was actually calling him regarding the investment scam, not the prize scam. But then I was able to convince him that the Tim Hortons 50-50 draw was also a scam because I took the time to go to Tim Hortons. Yes, I bought a coffee, but I went to Tim Hortons and I asked them, and they hadn't heard of any 50-50 draw. They provided me with Tim Hortons headquarters telephone number. I called them and they also claimed that this was false. So he was part of a second scam. And then we have the phishing and smishing. So that's when you receive an email or a text message and they're tricking you into clicking on a link. They're claiming to be, there's so many of these days. So they can be CRA, we have your refund. It could be you can have a discount at Costco if you click here. It could be, oh, the license plate refund was one of them. It could be they're claiming to be from your credit card company saying that your credit card has been compromised. So that being said, never click on a link and provide any personal or financial information. This is always fraud. They are here to steal your personal information. It might not be used right away, but it could be used in the future. Which brings us to emergency scam. So that's when a scammer pretends to be someone you know and tell you they need money urgently. Seniors often get caught in this scam as they're worried that their loved one is hurt or in trouble. So the one that we hear most often is the grandparent scam. So the grandchild calls grandma and or grandpa and says, you know, I'm in jail. I was with a friend. He was driving. We got in a car accident. They found drugs. And now I'm being arrested and bail needs to be paid. Or they could say that, again, they're in jail. But when they got into a car accident, the lady was pregnant and they killed her baby. So bail needs to be paid. So fraudsters will usually tell them that a bondsman will come and pick up the money. And it's usually around the $9,000 because banks need to ask more questions when transactions are more than $10,000. So the grandchild will tell them not to tell his parents because he's embarrassed. He doesn't want to get in trouble. So when the victims go to the bank and take the money out, they will lie why they're taking the money out, and the money will be picked up either by a bondsman or it will be sent by a courier company like Purelator or FedEx, and they'll ask them to put the money inside a book or in a shoebox full of newspapers. And then once the money is received, it's gone because usually it's not sent to the person's house. It's sent to a warehouse, a courier warehouse, and somebody picks it up with a fraudulent ID, and we have no clue who this person is. And another one that we hear about all the time is that they're in the hospital with cancer and needing money for hospital bills for their grandchild's birthday present. So this was also said earlier. Which brings me to a service scam. So there's a wide variety of services that may fall in the service scam pitch. It could be, sorry, I have puppies. Just, sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. So the service scam, sorry. So it could be a pop-up on your computer where they're saying that there's a problem with your computer and it's a tech support. So they'll gain access to your computer. They may infect your computer with a virus or steal your personal or financial information. It could be that somebody calls you and offers low interest rates on credit cards where they will also be stealing your personal information and credit card information. It could be home repairs. Somebody's knocking at your door saying that they'll redo your roof for a lower cost because they're in the area, but they need a deposit. Then they never return. One that's popular right now is the duct cleaning. They'll call people saying that they're in your area and they're coming to do duct cleaning. They will often say that it's a low price and it's only available now. There's high pressure sale tactics there. And then we go into merchandise. So fraudsters may place advertisement on popular classified sites or social networks. They may also create websites that share the look and feel of legitimate manufacturers. It could be vehicles that are advertised at a lower price than average. It could be somebody that's selling an animal or giving an animal away, a puppy or a kitten, and they will say that you only need to pay the shipping fee. And this is one that people get caught with all the time. An example would be that you live in Ontario and there's this Great Dane in British Columbia. The person is giving it away, but you need to pay the fees for the flight. Once the transportation company picks up the animal, they'll say that the crate is not suitable for the animal. It needs something else. You need to pay an extra fee. You need to pay an extra fee. And they never get the animal. Often people will purchase things online. So example, if you're purchasing a book, you may receive a package, but it's a pen inside. So those are things that we hear about very often. Another one is rental scams. So fraudsters will use online classified websites like Kijiji and social media to post these advertisements. So the property is usually located in a really nice area of a really nice neighborhood, and the price of the rental is average. It's a good price. So interested consumers are asked to complete an application where they provide their personal information. So that being said, never provide your social insurance number to anybody. That's yours and it's yours for life. So we need to protect it. So often the landlords will say that there's a lot of people that are interested. They're out of country at the moment and they need a deposit now to keep the place for you. And we all know that there's not a lot of rentals out there anymore. So people will pay deposits even before seeing these places. And then we go into ID theft. So identity theft occurs when a victim's personal information is stolen or compromised. This can happen as a result of volunteering personal information or financial information. It could be through a phishing fraud. It could be a stolen wallet, a database breach, or it could be somebody that went through your garbage and stole your personal information. And when these fraudsters steal the personal information, they may not personally use it right away. They may have completed their job, but they will sell the information to other fraudsters to fraud you for a prize scam, an emergency scam, identity theft. So this information can be used like to access your bank accounts, open new bank accounts, get credit cards, transfer bank balances. They can apply for loans. They can buy goods and services. They may use it to get a job where they need to hide criminal activities that they've done. They can get a passport or receive government benefits. So the big one last year was there was a Desjardins case data breach. And these fraudsters had, I'll say thousands and thousands of information of people where they logged into their Canada Revenue Agency account. They changed their information, including their bank accounts. They applied for CERB and got the CERB payments deposited into a fraudulent bank account. So when this happens, we always recommend that you place alerts with both of the credit bureaus, Equifax and TransUnion. And the reason we ask you to do both is because they're both responsible for different financial institutions. And then what
is the sign language interpreter? I just need to interrupt. What was the two places that you said to report it with?
Equifax and TransUnion.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So if you're a victim of identity theft, this is what we recommend you do. Gather all the information pertaining to the fraud. Contact the 2 credit bureaus that I just mentioned. Report the incident to your local law enforcement. Report the incident to Canadian Anti-Fraud. Review your financial statements and notify the banks of any suspicious activity. Notify your credit card companies. Change your passwords to online accounts. If you suspect that your mail has been redirected, notify Canada Post. Or if you receive mail that you don't think belongs to you, example, if you receive a credit card that you don't think you applied for, call the company, let them know. And notify any provincial or federal identity document issuing agency. So if your passport was compromised, your driver's license, social insurance number, it could be your possession and acquisition license. Make sure that you notify these agencies of what has happened. So how to protect yourself. So do not open or click the link in unsolicited emails or text messages, as they may contain malware. Look for spelling and formatting errors in emails and text messages. Verify the hyperlink behind the link's text and emails by hovering over the text. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And never share passwords. Be careful what you post online. Details shared on social media platforms and dating websites may be used in the future for targeting purposes. Scammers use technology to disguise the actual email or number they are calling from. This is what we call spoof. The government of Canada will never send funds by email or text messages unless you've applied for it, that is. Law enforcement will never demand payments. It will not threaten to arrest you by email or phone. Beware of individuals quickly professing their love to you. Beware of individuals who claim to be wealthy but need to borrow money. Be suspicious of anyone who can't meet in person. Never send intimate photos or videos of yourself, as they may be used to blackmail you. And never send or accept money under any circumstance, as you may unknowingly be participating in money laundering, which is a criminal offense. Never allow an individual to remotely access your computer for any reason, because they will go there and steal your personal information. If this does happen, or you hear of somebody it happened to, advise them to bring their computer to a technician to be wiped out. Beware of any urgency. And remember, the only way to participate in a lottery is to purchase a ticket. A ticket cannot be purchased on your behalf. These scammers sometimes will say, oh no, you didn't purchase a ticket, but you went to Loblaws in the last 3 months and your name was put in a draw for you. Please know that does not happen unless they advise you that you've put your name in a draw. And remember, in Canada, if you win a lottery, you're not required to pay any advance fees or taxes. And that's it. So again, how to report. We have our toll-free number that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. 888 495-8501 or on our website at antifraudcenter.ca. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for this. I think we have a couple of questions that have come in. And while we give people a bit more time to kind of put in their questions, I have one because something kind of stuck out at the start when you said often people do not report unless they are guaranteed restitution of the funds.
Yes.
So do you have a sense of how often that happens? And then follow-up question to that, how do you convince somebody to look past that? You know, yes, I can understand wanting your money back, but how do you kind of convince somebody that it's still worth doing, even if they don't get it all back?
So the Canadian Anti-Fraud, we don't investigate. But what happens with us is that we hold the database with all the fraud information. So that's how we know that fraudsters are targeting certain areas. And then we can put it out in the media saying, oh, they're targeting Southern Ontario with this type of fraud right now. So we'll put bulletins out to make sure that people know that it's happening within a certain region. We also cancel email addresses, telephone numbers, so they can't be used to fraud other people. Sometimes law enforcement will come to us and they'll ask, you know, if there's any linkages to the current file that they're investigating. So if people don't report to us, we can't help law enforcement. We can't disrupt the telephone numbers, the email addresses, the website, the merchant accounts. You know, we can't shut down the fraudulent bank accounts. You know, money is really hard to trace at the moment. And that's why we try to educate the most vulnerable population on what is happening today. And then we can also help them deal with it in various ways. You know what, when somebody reports it to us, they may not have thought to call their bank, call their credit card company, change their passwords. We'll walk them through it. So it's not only to report it to have it in our database, but it's also for us to be able to assist them in any way they can so they don't get re-victimized.
Thank you very much. So basically, by reporting, they're helping prevent other people from getting harmed the same way, and they're helping law enforcement with their efforts, and you with your efforts as well of keeping track.
Yeah, exactly. So often, like, if people report, the sooner that people report to us, the better it is. Mm-hmm. So the operational support unit here, they can call banks and see if there's still money in that fraudulent account. So if somebody has done a transfer within a day or two, sometimes we can stop it. So the earlier, the better. But like I said, the percentage, I don't know what it is, to be honest, but when we have our weekly meetings, we do have successful stories every week, but we get 250 calls a day. You know, if we can get money back from 3 people, never know, right?
Yeah. We have another question that was in the chat box, which is asking, what can you do, or what do you do if you know that someone is getting scammed, but they refuse to believe you when you bring it up to them?
Well, the good thing about the Canadian Anti-Fraud is you can report to us on behalf of somebody else, and you can also report anonymously. So if you put a report with us and it is a senior, you can ask for the senior support unit to follow up with this victim, and we will call them and try to convince them of what is happening. If that doesn't work, we can also send the police of jurisdiction to their house to try, like, we work in teams, right? If we can't do it, we send the police over, they can try to do it as well. But we will send them various things to read to convince them that they are being a victim.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel things to read is probably a very good start. And I think it kind of aligns with some of the questions being asked right now, which is, are there, so the tips you shared towards the end of things to do and things not to do to stay safe, are they available anywhere on the website of the Anti-Fraud Center? And are there documents that people can access right now that they can go read or print and hand to somebody that they think needs it?
Well, yeah, so Rianne has the toolkit. And in the toolkits, it'll talk about stats. It'll talk about the top 10 frauds that are happening today, the top 10 ways that victims are being contacted. And so that's a really good package. On our website, you can also browse by scams. So there's over 30 different pitches. So we always say, if somebody gets a call or an email, when in doubt, go on our website. And something that's really new is that 211 Ontario can also have been trained on fraud and can answer fraud questions as well. And they are open 24 hours a day.
Okay, that's wonderful. And is that Ontario specific, or do you know of other 211 services that are doing the same?
I don't, but here, Canadian Anti-Fraud, we're here we're here from 9 to 5. And I am willing to answer any questions that I need to. You can share my email. I have no issues with that.
I think, yes, we have a slide at the end to share this. I think another question that I have in mind is, I've often heard, and it's not just the Anti-Fraud Center, I think it's in general, services that can provide answers and referrals and services to older adults are very often swamped. And so people say, well, I've tried to call and I never got through, or I left a message, but I don't know if anybody got it.
Yeah,
it's hard because the numbers you shared at the start of the presentation, there is so much going on right now.
yes.
Is there any direct way for somebody to kind of do something, or do you know of is there anything that people can get to kind of get that confirmation that they are being heard, even if it's not immediate resolution?
Yeah, we always say call the source. If they're claiming to be Canada Post, call Canada Post. Ask them. If they're claiming to be your Visa, call Visa. But be cautious. Never use any email or telephone numbers that they provide you. You use the number that you're familiar with. Go in your phone book. Look behind your Visa credit card. Look for a phone number for your hydro company. Don't ever call a number that they provide you, but yeah, call the source, call your bank, call Visa, call a friend, tell your story to somebody. And most often these fraudsters will say, don't tell anybody. And that's the problem. People are scared. They don't want to tell anybody. They don't want to ask anybody. But usually that if they tell you not to tell anybody, it's a scam. So I think you should.
Yep.
And something else I just want to say is that if you've been victimized, tell your story to people. The more information that we can share of people being victimized and how it happened to them and how it made them feel, because sometimes it does affect you like physically, and other people think they're alone, but they're not alone. There's thousands and thousands of people out there that are being victimized every single day. So share your stories.
Thank you. That's a very important message. That's one we repeat over and over. In any case, any form of mistreatment, the silence isolates you further and makes you more vulnerable to continued mistreatment. So it's always important, and it's hard to get over that fear of admitting that something happened to you, or especially if you feel like it's your fault, but it's not your fault, and you should absolutely tell people.
Yes. Yeah. And the toolkit that Rianne just shared in the chat there, save it, email it to your friends, family, print it, leave it on your beside your phone. It's a good resource. If you're not sure you're being scammed, you can go look at that. And I always say education is the key to prevention.
Absolutely.
The more people we can educate, the less people will be victims of fraud.
Agreed. We have a couple of questions. You mentioned during your presentation that the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin things it's everywhere. And along with the somewhat legitimate version of Bitcoin, there's also all the scams. So we have
Yeah.
a few questions about that. So if somebody has been basically a victim of a scam that had to do with crypto stuff, how do they report this? Like, is it also to you? And also, can they even think of getting their money back? Because crypto is complicated, right? It's a bit.
Crypto is very, very complicated, and it's still very, very new for law enforcement. I'm not a police officer, I'm not an investigator, but from what I've been told is that it's very hard to trace. It's like they say that, you know, you send your money into one cryptocurrency wallet, so like a QR code wallet, and then as soon as it's in there, the fraudsters will separate that into 100 different wallets. And then those 100 different wallets will be separated to 100 different wallets. So when we start tracing, or not we, but the operational support unit or the police officers, when they start tracing, it's almost impossible. But it's important to report it to us, because if one person has been scamming 10 people and there's linkages on our database for all these 10 people, then it may get investigated. And it's like, and I know people lose their money and they want their money back, but catching these bad guys is just as a good feeling than to us anyways, you know. Without them reporting, we can't catch them. So
Thank you. I have a question which came up early and I skipped it accidentally. Do you have speakers that can do these types of education presentations for seniors in other languages?
I speak French. We have a new volunteer that is Spanish, but she's very, very new. I don't think she's ready to do presentations, but maybe in the next year or so, she'll be ready to.
Okay, wonderful, thank
so.
you. Let's see. I also saw a question that was inquiring about success stories. Do you have any recent success stories, either through convictions or, you know, kind of getting to the bottom of a case?
Not myself, because I'm not part of the investigative section of it, unfortunately. But there, success stories. Trying to think. There's so many little ones. Like for me, a success story is when I convince people of them being part of a scam. So I have a little case study. I'm just going to go through it quickly. So the son, we'll call him Brad. Brad called the Canadian Anti-Fraud and he said, my mom, she's part of a romance scam. And she didn't believe him. So he didn't know what to do. So he reported it to us. He didn't have much information. But then by the end, like our senior support unit volunteer made contact with the victim multiple times by telephone, by email. And then we had also sent police of jurisdiction to go and visit this lady, because this lady was spending so much money. It was unbelievable. She made $30,000 a month and she had zero money. Sold her car, lost her house, had asked the bank for loans, had asked family members for money. She was part of this romance scam pretty hard for a long time. And with us, the law enforcement, we were able to convince this victim and she stopped sending money. So to me, that's a successful story for me. And just the gentleman who didn't, like I said earlier, the 50-50 draw, that's a success story for me because he didn't lose any more money.
Thank you. We have a question, and it might be a bit tricky because it involves the idea of mental capacity, and what happens if somebody who is not mentally capable or mentally ill, somebody who maybe is not fully able to make decisions, and they get scammed easily because of that. How can they be helped? Can you help them? Does this involve other services?
I can try to talk to them, but when it comes to mental health, it's very hard for us because we're not trained in mental health, unfortunately. If it would come to that, we would look for resources that can. First thing I always say is that try to speak to the doctor and see if you can get a capacity assessment. And then with that capacity assessment can give you more rights to help the vulnerable, the senior or the person with mental health issues, and speak to the bank about it as well, because I believe that the banks also have their own capacity assessment that they can do. But then again, I can't really give too much advice because, again, that's not something, it's case by case for us. And I haven't been here too long, and I haven't had any mental health issue cases. But obviously it does happen. I wouldn't be able to direct you anywhere other than the doctor. Go to the doctor first.
Okay, thank you for that tip. I'm sorry, I'm just working my way through the questions. Rayanne, did you spot anything else that I missed?
There was some individual questions. I think we aren't able to get to everybody's question. But just to remind people that all the resources that were shared today and the video recording will be posted. So if you haven't had a chance to highlight or copy everything down, don't worry, we will post all those links onto the websites that you'll receive as a follow-up email, where to find that information. I do want to thank Stephanie for her wonderful presentation. We've had some excellent comments, and thanking you for your great presentation. Lots of information and tips to share to try to prevent this from further happening to older adults and friends and colleagues that find themselves in these unfortunate positions. Just in follow-up, we are doing the same presentation tomorrow in French. Stephanie will present this. So if you know colleagues who are Francophone and want to join, if you're bilingual and you wanted to participate again, if you missed some of the tips, please join us, and you can register for that as well. It's on our website. Benedict, our organization's also just put out a notice that if anybody feels that would like to donate to our needs in terms of our outreach to community, we do appreciate any donations to continue the work that we're doing. And lastly, Stephanie indicated she's her contact information. There's her email. I would encourage you also, if you're on social media, to check out the anti-fraud websites or not website, the social media. So Twitter, Facebook, constantly posting updates on new frauds and scams that are out there. So, follow them or have a look to see what's new. And I know that Stephanie does lots of presentations across Ontario, and other OPP officers as well. So if Stephanie's not available, you can connect to your local police force, because many of the regional and provincial police forces do presentations in the local areas as well on frauds and scams, and other community organizations as well. So just a reminder about the evaluation. You'll receive a follow-up link as well, just to remind you to do that short survey. We'd appreciate your feedback. We thank you for participating. Our contact information for both CNPA and EAPO are on the website here as well. And as I say, give us a couple days and we'll have all this information posted on our websites as well. So thank you again to Stephanie. Thank you for Benedict to collaborate and partner on this website or webinar, sorry, and to our ASL interpreters for providing their service today. I know many people are very thankful for having that availability on our webinar. So we will go through the chats to see if anything else that we missed, and either try to follow up, or you can send us an email if you have anything more specifically that we can maybe send to Stephanie to respond to. So thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.